Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to welcome everyone here today. We have Rotarians from over 50 countries who have united today, and this gives much hope considering the vital report you're about to hear on the future of humanity. Now, it is my honor to introduce and welcome a very respected person, our chief guest, who all of you know as the president of Rotary International from 2018-2019, Mr. Barry Rosen. A Rotarian since 1980, Mr. Rosen has served Rotary as a director and vice chair of the Rotary Foundation Board of Trustees. Mr. Rosen received Rotary's highest honor, the Service Above Self Award, as well as other humanitarian awards for his work leading Rotary's relief efforts in Haiti after 2010 earthquake. He and his wife, Esther, are major donors and benefactors of the Rotary Foundation. Please welcome Mr. Rosen.
Well, my friends, Rotarians and Rotaractors, it is such an honor for me to be here with you today because I appreciate all that you do for so many things around the world. But today is a time that we have to recognize that we have a global climate challenge. There's disasters happening on a regular basis around the world. And that creates the need for us to unify more than we ever have before. Yes, Rotary is a big family. And when you're a big family like we are, we have the power to do more than we could with just one or two of us. We understand that unity. We understand the power from it. We need to really come together and use that ability to make change. We've seen the climate disasters of 2022, and they've turned our view rapidly on how the climate can change. Finally, fewer and fewer people are arguing that there is no climate change because there is, and it's factual. It's not just something we think of. This year surpassed all indicators and broke all records, and it's sad. We all know what just went through Hurricane Ian passing through the state of Florida, causing more destruction there than ever before for any other disaster. What are we each doing to help them? And we're going to have another one sometime soon. What are we going to each do to help them? We don't have the funds or resource to help in every single disaster. What we need to do is back up and look at the cause of why are we having all these issues. And let's try to address the cause, which is climate change. We know that. I've seen and been through many hurricanes. Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas in 2019 was the worst. Absolute destruction. It sat over the two islands for 3 days and didn't move. People were hanging from trees because there was no ground to be on. 21-foot surge because the water is warmer than it's ever been. When the waters are warmer, then it expands, it rises. Right now with king tides, even in the state of Florida, on a beautiful day, on the coastline, they're flooding. That's a fact. So what are we doing to help this climate problem? And I saw, after the earthquake in Haiti, what utter destruction could happen in a matter of minutes. That earthquake absolutely destroyed a large part of the major city in Port-au-Prince and along its path to the west. Absolute major destruction within minutes. 100,000 people die within minutes. 400,000 to 1 million, they're not even sure, immediately became homeless, and they had to do something about it. That's not far from where I live. I actually stood on the balcony of my house looking out to see if the surge of water that is usually caused by an earthquake was going to hit my island and cover my island as well. That's how close we are. That's how personal it is. I know that my country is going to be underwater. I know that many island countries around the world are going to be underwater in the next 50 years. Are we going to allow that to happen so that our grandchildren don't have the same beautiful planet that we have? This is a problem that is a challenge for all of humanity, Rotary is the best organization to step up and appreciate that we can make a difference. We can make a change and come up with some answers as to what we can do to make a difference. I'm really proud that the Rotary Foundation has added the environment as a 7th area of focus. So we really can do much more than we could in the past. We've always done environmental projects, but now Rotary is saying this is important. Rotary International is saying, let's do something more than we've ever done before. We can do it. I've seen Rotary in action. We know we're going to eradicate polio. World Health Organization is thinking next year we'll see our last case of polio. And they agree that that's because Rotary has not given up. Rotary has stuck with it to the end, and we will finish the job. So I ask you, in your deliberations, as you hear these incredible speakers, think about what you individually can do, and think about how when we can come together, what can we do in a major way to help our beautiful planet maintain its beauty. This affects all of us around the world. This isn't just me in my little island in the Bahamas. It isn't you in your community. It's everywhere. And we're all going to be affected. So we all need to get together and do something. We can do it better because we dream the impossible, and then we make it happen and make it possible. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for saving our planet. Thank you.
Greetings, and thank you very much, Mr. Rassin, for the introduction. It is truly an honor to have you here with us. Every person today sees the effects of climate change outside their window, and we must know the true causes of climate change. Now, we would like to present to you the report that has never been released to the public, and this presentation was put together exclusively for Rotarians with the hope that the information presented will be used to resolve the global threats we will face in the very near future. Now, I would like to introduce our next two speakers. With us today is Yelizaveta Khromova, geologist and geophysicist. She received her master's degree in geology at Lomonosov Moscow State University with advanced geophysics coursework from the United States. Yelizaveta currently works as a geophysicist of the seismic department in Schlumberger, Russia. She's the head of the information and analytical department of climate change of the Creative Society. Yelizaveta leads global monitoring of natural disasters occurring on our planet, analysis of seismic and volcanic activity, as well as the comprehensive study of the changes in Earth's geodynamics and geophysics. Our other speaker is Dr. John Ahn. Dr. Ahn holds an MBA from the INSEAD, a PhD in chemical engineering from the Technical University of Munich, and a master's degree from the University of California, Berkeley. Currently, he's the entrepreneurship and business development lead at the Danforth Plant Science Center and Danforth Technology Company. His area of expertise includes economic evaluation, partnership management, and new technology development and commercialization in energy, chemical processes, and life scientists. Yelizaveta and John, the floor is now yours.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to speak before you today at the Rotary Club, representatives of the business community, sensible people whose intelligence and work support the development of the economy and prosperity of the world. We have prepared a report that will focus on climate change that is not caused by human activity, but by geodynamic processes occurring in the Earth's interior. We are scientists from different countries who conduct an interdisciplinary study of processes in the Earth's interior. These are experts in geology, geophysics, volcanology, climatology, oceanology, astrophysics, and dozens of other fields. Those who study the planet's core, volcanoes, earthquakes, cosmic rays, and geological cycles. We are an international team of volunteers who have been monitoring and analyzing climate change information for many years. We are eyewitnesses who have faced and survived natural disasters, but many people have not.
Today, we're going to present to you, step by step, a mathematical model of what critical changes will be taking place on our planet in the next decade, where this is going to lead to, and what the way out is. You will not hear this information from official media sources or political reports. We're going to tell you what is out of the public eye. These facts are not just being withheld, they're being ignored so as not to cause public panic. We understand that. However, such silence is dangerous because it creates the risk of inaction in solving vitally important issues. We are here to give you the facts, which you can cross-check yourselves.
As we've been analyzing climate events for years, we've sometimes encountered skepticism from people arguing that maybe there's a natural warming going on, which has happened many times, or some people saying that we're fine, our region certainly won't be affected. Even last year, a lot of people said that. But not this year, which has revealed the real global scale of the planetary climate crisis that we warned about 10 years ago. Let's start by recalling what has happened to the climate in 2022.
USA, Taiwan, Kazakhstan.
It's a true nightmare that's happened for the first time in my whole life.
Bulgaria.
It was as if a bomb had fallen.
Italy.
Who could have known that the water would rush in so fast? We lost everything.
Pakistan. Spain. China. Germany. Storms and hurricanes. Category 4 Hurricane Ian was the deadliest hurricane to hit Florida residents in the United States. Some cities were 90% destroyed by the storm surge, furious winds, and flooding. More than 1.5 million people had to leave their homes. According to preliminary estimates, the damage will exceed $100 billion. Fiona is the first Category 4 hurricane in history to move this far north. Fiona reached eastern Canada, maintaining the strength of Category 2 hurricane and left an unprecedented path of destruction in the country. In recent years, tropical storms have begun to move further north and south from the equator. The world's megacities such as New York, Boston, Beijing, and Tokyo could soon be under their attack. Typhoon Noru was predicted to hit the Philippines as the equivalent of Category 1 hurricane. But in just 6 hours, there was an explosive intensification to a Category 5 super typhoon, with wind gusts reaching 196 miles per hour. People did not have time to prepare for the impact of the natural disaster of such force. More than 900,000 people were affected, while the damage to agriculture exceeded $52 million. In the United States, the number of convective storms, the damage of which exceeds $1 billion, is growing unprecedentedly. Between the year 2000 and 2010, there were 34 of them, and in the next 11 years, there were already 95. In the Southern Hemisphere, storm intensification over recent decades has already reached levels projected to occur in the year 2080. Abnormal precipitation and flooding. The number of abnormal precipitation events is growing all over the world. During the 9 months of 2022, more than 35,000 daily records have been registered across the planet. Sudden floods leave no time for people to escape. The province of Ancona, Italy, was hit by half a year's worth of rain overnight. Never before in their lives have the residents seen such a rapid rise of water, almost 1 meter in 10 minutes. Australia has been hit by 3 waves of historic flood in 2022. Given such frequency and intensity of flooding, it makes no sense to rebuild some cities. In South Africa, almost a year's worth of rain fell within 24 hours, resulting in one of the deadliest floods in the 21st century in the country. Just 60 years ago, there were 8 major floods per year in the world. And by 2021, this number has increased by 27 times. The monsoon season of 2022 turned into the biggest climate disaster in modern history of Pakistan. 1/3 of the country's provinces went underwater. More than 1,600 people have been killed, and 33 million have been affected by the disaster. More than half of them are children. Over 2 million houses have been destroyed. Elderly people, pregnant women, and children are forced to live outdoors in inhumane conditions. There is a lack of food, drinking water, and medical care. Contaminated water has become a source of infections. People are left without jobs, shelter, and means of livelihood. After almost 2 months, the water is still not gone. The nightmare for people continues and will only get worse. Extreme heat and drought. During the 9 months of 2022, there have been over 100,000 highest temperature records across the globe. In China, for the first time in world history, a heat wave reached 113 degrees Fahrenheit and lasted 79 days in a row. More than 900 million people were affected by extreme temperatures. Bomb shelters were open to people as a relief from the unbearable heat. In the European Union, the death of 53,000 people in July are directly attributed to the unprecedented heat wave. In 2022, severe droughts have hit many regions. Rivers and reservoirs have dried up. Shipping has been practically brought to halt. The energy crisis has worsened. Electricity bills have soared manyfold. The drought has destroyed crops, leading to unprecedented increase in food prices. The water crisis has reached record levels. Access to safe drinking water is under threat. No country, even an economically developed one, is immune to this problem. This year, over 2 billion people on our planet are already facing water shortages. Wildfires. In Russia, there has been a sharp increase in the total area of wildfires in the last 5 years. In 2022, Alaska is experiencing the largest wildfire season in its history. 50 years ago, there were no such thing as megafires, but as of early October 2022, there have already been 16 megafires in the USA alone, and many more are approaching that scale. In Europe, for the first time since satellite observations began, the cumulative burnt area in 2022 so far exceeded 770,000 hectares, which is nearly 3 times the annual average. And in some countries, the increase in wildfires has been really shocking. In the Czech Republic, an average of 9 hectares of land is burned annually. However, by the end of September this year, the fire had already destroyed almost 1,500 hectares. This is 158 times more than the usual. Wildfires are not seasonal anymore. Now, they don't stop even in winter, and hurricane winds spread a fire at breakneck speed. In the Algerian province of Al Taref, winds of over 55 miles per hour cause the flames to spread in a matter of minutes, leaving no chance for people to escape. Fires are occurring in places where they have almost never been before. Central Europe, the rainforest of South America, and even the Arctic are burning. What was predicted for the year 2100 is already happening right before our eyes today. In 2022, there has been an unprecedented leap in the power and the amount of natural disasters, and judging by the progression, they will continue to increase at a record speed. In order for humankind to survive, urgent, extraordinary action is needed. Meanwhile, we have very little time left.
In this short video, we have shown only a small part of the huge number of climate disasters that have occurred during 9 months of this year. But even these examples show how abnormal and unpredictable the cataclysms have become, and how significant their progression is. This year, people have seen with their own eyes just how intense the global climate crisis really has become. Today, everyone's doubts are gone. Many people are getting scared, but the absolutely scariest thing is what awaits us next, because the progression is increasing. And what's worst of all, no one has yet been able to offer a truthful, truly workable solution to the progressive climate disasters.
In today's report, we will raise 3 key questions. First, what is the true cause of the escalating climate disasters? Second, what will happen next? Third, what is the solution? We've made accurate calculations, constructed mathematical models, and analytical forecasts. As a result of our research, we have come to a very well-reasoned understanding that the cause of the climate change is not the increase in the anthropogenic CO2. The problem is not only that the temperature of the planet are currently rising, but there is also an increase in the number of anomalies deep in the planet's interior. Therefore, the reason for the increasing disasters is something else. Let's look at the facts of multiple thermal anomalies which point to problems inside the planet.
One of the signs of climate change that you are well aware of is the melting of glaciers. It is now well established that the glaciers of Antarctica and Greenland are melting from below. But what is the real threat behind this? Please look at the map in the middle. The red color here indicates the area where Antarctica has lost most of its ice since 2003. As you can clearly see on the map, this is only West Antarctica. Why is only West Antarctica melting from global warming? Geologists are well aware that West Antarctica is a relatively young continent with a thin crust. On the map to the left, you can see yellow and red areas showing the thin crust. The eastern part is represented with a thick, massive plate. On the right side of the tectonic map, you can see how West and East Antarctica differ. It is well known that Antarctica is also an active volcanic region. Today, more than 140 volcanoes have already been discovered under its ice. Take a closer look. Where are all these volcanoes? They are located exactly in West Antarctica, and most of them are located exactly where glaciers are melting. You may have heard that there are two glaciers in Antarctica that are melting the most. They are Pine Island and Thwaites. You can see them marked with red arrows on the map to the left. These glaciers are called doomsday glaciers. Multiple studies in recent years indicate that there is an increased heat flow beneath these glaciers from the subsurface. It comes from volcanoes located nearby. According to one research, the area beneath Pine Island is rising very quickly because the magma in the volcano under the glacier is hotter and more molten. This suggests a rapid rise of magma in this region. Please note, the intense melting of Antarctic glaciers began when it happened. That happened in 1995. Remember this year. Today you will hear a lot about it. Since 1995, Antarctica's ice melt rate has increased by 65%. The question arises, why did the intensive melting of glaciers start exactly in our time? NASA seismologists have discovered a huge Marybird magma chamber under West Antarctica. The increased heat flow from the Earth's interior comes exactly from there and activates the volcanoes. In the diagram on the left, you can see this magma chamber in red. Despite the fact that the magma chamber has been there for millions of years, in 1995, for an inexplicable reason, it became active, which led to an increase in volcanic activity and intensive melting of the glaciers in West Antarctica. It is an undeniable fact that Antarctica is melting from below due to the rise of magma within the magma chamber, and this has been happening since 1995.
Right next to West Antarctica is another heat anomaly area. Oceanographers from Germany have found that in the Weddell Sea off the coast of West Antarctica, at a depth of more than 2,000 meters, the water has warmed up 5 times faster than at the surface, whereas the upper 700 meters of water column has hardly heated at all. This is another fact showing that the heat is coming from below, from the depth. In the graph on the bottom right, you can see how significantly the temperature has been increasing since 1995. Just imagine how much heat it takes to warm the icy waters of the Antarctic Sea. The Weddell Sea is bounded on all sides by volcanic features that are currently showing anomalous activity. And the Bransfield Strait area is currently the most seismically active in the world. Look, it is marked on the map with a red arrow. Further in the report, you will hear more about the 85,000 earthquakes that occurred here within only 6 months in 2020. For comparison, before 1995, there were no more than 15,000 earthquakes per year around the entire Earth. This indicates that magma is reactively rising in the Bransfield Straits area, thus triggering earthquakes. It is only 5 kilometers away from breaking through.
You see that the Weddell Sea, just like the entire West Antarctica, has also been heating up since 1995. And this is due to the rise of magma, its ascent, which is accompanied by an extreme increase in the number of earthquakes. You're smart people, and you understand perfectly well that humans cannot influence seismic activity at the bottom of the ocean in any way, all the more so in Antarctica. You will be surprised, but similar processes are taking place now in the central part of Greenland. So where does the increase in heat flow under Greenland come from? Let's take a look at the video.
Equally intense ice melting is also taking place on another part of the planet, in Greenland. Research conducted in October 2020 showed that Greenland's ice is now melting faster than ever before in the past 12,000 years. In 2019 alone, Greenland's ice sheet lost the most ice in recorded history, 600 billion tons. It is also surprising that giant lakes appear under the surface of the glacier, which is actually 1.5 kilometers thick. As of today, we already know about 6 dozen subglacial lakes of Greenland. The temperature of the ice surrounding them is around minus 28 degrees Celsius. But these lakes do not freeze. Why? Several research groups of scientists joined in the effort to find an answer to this very question. They discovered the fact that under Greenland, just as under Antarctica, there is a mantle plume. Geothermal flows coming from its bowels cause formation of subglacial lakes and melting of glaciers. Using gravitational research, a team of American scientists led by Professor Ralph von Friese estimated the thickness of Greenland's crust. Active melting of glaciers has been observed in the northern part of the island, where the crust is thinner and an increased geothermal flow due to the rising mantle plume has been detected. Using seismic tomography data, scientists from an interdisciplinary team at the Schmidt Institute of Physics of the Earth saw that the flow of magma rises from the center of the core to the Earth's surface right beneath the central part of Greenland. This is where the largest number of subglacial lakes are located. The scientists have calculated the theoretical heat flux corresponding to this magma chamber and found that this heat is sufficient to warm the base of the glacier up to the melting point of the ice. These same results have been confirmed by similar studies using machine learning technology.
Now you know that the increased melting of Greenland is also due to the rise of magma in the magma chamber. The glaciers of Antarctica and Greenland have begun to melt from below since 1995. And this is happening faster than at any time in the past 12,000 years. This suggests that there hasn't been such an intense rise in magma over the period of 12,000 years. But as it turned out, exactly this period of 12,000 years is of enormous importance. Next, you will learn why magma in magma chambers have begun to behave so strangely, how this threatens humankind, and when it will happen.
Apart from melting of glaciers, the oceans are also showing significant thermal anomalies. Let's have a look at where this is happening.
The ocean is the source of life for the entire planet, and for us, humans. But it ceases to be the source of life. It is about to become the source of our death. Just think about it. Ocean warming has increased by 450% in just 30 years, According to scientific estimations, for the ocean to heat up at today's rate, it would take as much energy as would be released if 7 atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima would explode every second for a year. The direst fact is that the ocean is heating not only on the surface, but also at depth. A team of US researchers has found that the average depths of the ocean warmed 15 times faster over the past 60 years than they had been warming over the previous 10,000 years. And this progression is accelerating every year. At the moment, science has no explanation where this amount of heat comes from. The only theories being considered are that the oceans are warming from the sun and from human emissions of the greenhouse gas CO2. But they can only explain heating of the upper layers of the ocean to a depth of up to 200 meters, because sun rays do not penetrate deeper. The water can be maximally heated by the sun up to 700 meters as a result of agitation. How can we explain the numerous facts of warming of the deep ocean layers? Think about it. How much energy does it take to heat such a volume of water as the world's oceans? We already see examples of such anomalous heating everywhere, not only on the bottom, but also on the surface. At the end of 2013, a huge area of unusually warm ocean water, about 1/3 the size of the United States, formed in the Gulf of Alaska, and it began to spread. The water temperature in many places exceeded the norm by 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. National Geographic dubbed it the blob that cooked the Pacific. Nick Bond, state climatologist for Washington, named this phenomenon the blob. The appearance of such anomalies began to suddenly become more frequent. There is something common that unites the places of formation of all these blobs. These are geologically active regions with a young, thin crust, with active underwater volcanoes, cracks, and deep crustal fractures. These are places of the most active output of hot and fluid magma. The ocean is called the kitchen of weather. The warming of its waters already enhances catastrophic typhoons and hurricanes, which annually claim thousands of human lives. The unprecedented heating of the ocean suggests that the ocean is already exhausting its ability to contain the energy trying to escape from the bowels of the earth. And when magma reaches the denser and thicker rocks of the continental crust, which on average is 2 to 3 times thicker than the oceanic crust, then the processes of cascading eruptions of land volcanoes will begin, and it will be too late to stop this process or to seek salvation.
As we can see, the ocean is warming at the seafloor, not only in the Weddell Sea, but also all over the world. Even the mid-depths are warming, while the huge volumes of heated water, the so-called blobs, are rising to the surface. Note that such blobs of hot water have been appearing more and more frequently since 1995. Look at the bottom right graph. Obviously, no human emissions are capable of heating up the ocean as much as 5 to 7 degrees Celsius over such short period of time, all the more so only in local areas. In light of this, the theory that anthropogenic emissions warm the oceans sounds ridiculous. The ocean is a huge reservoir of CO2, with 95% of planet's CO2 dissolved in it. As the ocean gets cooler, its water absorbs CO2. And accordingly, the warmer the ocean gets, the more CO2 it releases into the atmosphere. Now, you and I already know that the ocean is heated by magma from the Earth's interior. So there it is, the reason for the increase in the CO2 in the atmosphere. It is the heating of the ocean that causes the increase of CO2 levels, not the other way around. This has nothing to do with humans. The increase of CO2 is only a consequence of the processes taking place in the interior of the planet.
As you can see, these facts indicate that our entire current climate agenda to reduce CO2 in the atmosphere is a waste of time and money, including yours. It raises the question, who is working on addressing the actual causes then? Arthur Vittorito, who is a professor at the Maryland Institute, also pointed out that since 1995, various ocean and atmospheric parameters have begun changing. Since 1995, atmospheric humidity begins to increase, which is due to the heating of the ocean from beneath. Take a look. The changes in 1995 are marked on the graphs with red arrows. Professor Arthur Vittorito discovered that in 1995, seismic activity began to increase at an unprecedented rate along the boundaries of thin oceanic plates in the mid-oceans. Look at the map to the right showing the increase in this activity, and the red arrow on the graph indicates a spike in earthquakes in 1995.
Intermediate conclusions. Now, since 1995, there has been an intense ascent of magma. This results in, first, increased melting of the glaciers of West Antarctica and Greenland from the bottom up. Second, warming of the Weddell Sea. Third, an increase in the number of thermal anomalies in the ocean. Fourth, increased seismic activity along the plate boundaries in the ocean. Next, you will hear about even more anomalous processes in the interior of our planet, which started in 1995.
The ascent of magma has resulted in an unprecedented increase in the number of earthquakes. Earthquakes usually occur at the depth of 5 to 80 kilometers, where the crust is more brittle and has cracks. But the last decade has seen an increase in the number of earthquakes at the depths where it had been previously considered impossible. These are the depths of more than 700 kilometers, where earthquakes are not supposed to occur because the rocks in the inner mantle are plastic, like molten clay, and they're unable to crack. Over the recent 7 years, the number of deep focus earthquakes has increased by a factor of 10. Remember this. So why do earthquakes occur at such depth where they have never occurred before? You will learn about this later in the report. The highest number of deep focus earthquakes is observed in the area where the Hanga Pai volcano erupted in January 2022. Look, it is marked with a red arrow on the map. And the worst part is that it is just outside the Mariana Trench, which has the thinnest oceanic crust, a mere 5 kilometers. This is an important fact. Please take a note of it as well. Seismic activity is increasing both on the ocean floor and on land. Earthquakes are emerging even in regions where they have never been before. The number of earthquakes, their magnitude and energy are increasing. And please note that in 1995, the first distinct rise in the growth of earthquakes took place. Look at the map in front of you. It depicts earthquakes before and after 1995. You can see the fact that earthquakes began to expand away from the edges of the plates and occur in new territories. It is important to note that the recorded growth of seismic activity over the past 30 years has nothing to do with the number of seismic sensors on the planet. Please take a look at the graph. The black dots continuously show the events that started to be registered around the planet, which indicates that the observation network is very dense. By 1973, the number of installed seismic stations around the world had already been sufficient to record all earthquakes of magnitude 4 and greater, regardless of where they occurred. Let's see what this means for all of us, people.
Earthquakes and volcanoes. The power of the Earth's interior manifests itself unpredictably on the surface, causing colossal damage and destroying all life around. In the recent years, these emissions of planetary energy have been growing exponentially in gigantic leaps. Something inexplicable has started to happen. In 2015, a record-breaking earthquake was registered near Japan at a depth of 751 kilometers. This had never been seen before, and indeed was considered impossible by the scientific community. Earthquakes were thought to occur only in the Earth's crust and upper mantle when blocks of lithospheric plates break and shift. At great depths, matter is more malleable and does not behave like brittle glass, but rather like plasticine. There is nothing breakable there, but earthquakes do happen, and that is a fact. The horrible part is that their number and magnitude are increasing. Earthquakes are not only becoming deeper, but they are also getting closer to the surface, which means they are becoming more destructive. Today, more and more of them are concentrated at a depth of about 10 kilometers. For example, an entire series of 36 seismic events of significant magnitude from 4.5 to 7.0 occurred near New Caledonia in early April 2022. Just one earthquake of similar magnitude and depth in August 2021 in Haiti caused fatal damage and killed more than 2,200 people. The deadly threat is increasingly rising to the surface of the Earth. Right before our eyes, cracks are appearing and faults are being activated. The ground is literally crumbling beneath our feet, swallowing whole houses. Faults have been activated in the USA, Kenya, Iceland, Turkey, China, Lake Baikal, and other regions. Each of them can cause enormous damage. It is an abyss opening underfoot. The number of observed earthquake swarms, that is, of clusters of rhythmic shocks, is increasing on the planet. A swarm is characterized by almost similar magnitudes of seismic events that occur at short intervals in a local area. The number of seismic events in individual earthquake swarms has increased from a few or few dozens to hundreds and sometimes thousands. Their magnitude and duration have increased. This is due to the intrusion of magma and hot gases into the microcracks of rocks. Swarms are now being recorded not only in fault zones and near volcanoes, but also in more quiet regions. The Palghar region of India, located in a quiet continental region, began swarming with earthquakes in September 2018 and continues to this day. In just 2 years, about 5,000 earthquakes of a magnitude up to 3.8 occurred within a small area. And what has been happening since August 2020 and the Bransfield Strait off of Antarctica has been described by scientists as a huge magma intrusion. Some 85,000 earthquakes have been detected in the first 6 months, with a maximum magnitude of 6. Normally, these processes occur over geologic timescales as opposed to over the course of a human lifespan, said study co-author Simone Czeska, seismologist at the Research Center in Potsdam. Magma is literally devouring the lithospheric plate from the inside, having traveled 2/3 of the way to the surface in 6 months. Only 5 kilometers of rock remain before a catastrophic rupture occurs. And that is just one example. Similar things are happening everywhere.
The way the seismic activity is rapidly increasing these days is a catastrophe. But the most absurd thing is that these seismic agencies, international seismic databases, are now trying to conceal the fact that the number and magnitude of earthquakes is increasing. Until 2014, earthquake trends for major international databases were the same. And now, watch closely. Look at the graph. How did the curves start to behave after 2014? We see a complete discrepancy in the data from different seismic databases. What happened? The graph shows the total number of all unique earthquakes from different databases. You can see from color bars that until 2014, the databases registered the same set of earthquakes. But since 2015, they've started registering different set of earthquakes, chaotically, regardless of the region. Simply, they began to put all events into different baskets. Scientists use particular database, relying on its validity. And as a result, they see no real increase in seismic activity and rely on incomplete data in their studies. The largest correction was made to the records of seismic events with magnitudes from 3 to 4. Look, in the graph to the left, you can see that a chunk of data for small magnitude earthquake is missing. Can you believe that Indonesia, one of the most seismically active regions, has stopped having small magnitude earthquakes? Their number has dropped from 3,500 to 8. Why the small ones? Because they most clearly reflect the process of magma ascent. Their numbers are the first to increase. And there are many more such examples of data distortion and underreporting of magnitudes. In reality, there are much stronger earthquakes taking place now than we're told. The real increase in seismic activity on the planet looks like this. You can download the seismic data yourselves and verify our information. And you too will see this scam taking place. We don't judge them. We understand that they resort to such methods because they see no way out and don't want to sow panic among people. But can we call those who do this true scientists?
Manipulation of information occurs not only with scientific data, but also in the media. Two opposing theories of climate change can be found today. The first is that the climate is changing as a result of anthropogenic CO2 emissions, and the second is that the climate is not changing at all. There are mass media outlets that support one or another theory by promoting it. But the truth is that both theories are sponsored by the same sources, whereas the media, in both cases, are owned by the same masters. We're supposedly given a choice, given two hypotheses, but they are equally irrelevant to reality. There is a mass mind manipulation going on at the time when we should have been ringing the alarm bell a long time ago. This can associatively be compared to a burning city. Imagine, you and I are living in a city where a fire has started. The homes on the outskirts of our city are on fire. We worry and ask the question, what's going on? And we are immediately offered different answers to choose from. Some say, it's not a fire at all, it's hallucination, a fantasy, nothing will come to you, it's just a glam, a sunset, don't worry. Others say, it's just boys running around with flashlights. Yet the others say, it's a herd of crows and their reflections are coloring the sky. There are no fires, live peacefully, sleep and have a good rest. Meanwhile, some others actively invite us, look, there are men fighting for money, look. Or what a beautiful speech the governor of our city delivers, hurry up and listen. We, the residents of the city, see and hear all this, and what are we supposed to do? We see that our neighbors' homes are already on fire, and by all laws, ours will burn next. So what should we do? Should we tell them, sleep well, your home will burn down not today but tomorrow, so there is no need to panic until tomorrow, you shouldn't be nervous? Or should we wake our neighbors up as soon as possible? Yes, he will wake up and be frightened, but emotions and hormones in him will activate, which will add strength to his muscles to go and get water in buckets and to quickly put out the fire of neighboring homes before their own gets burned. Isn't that what we are supposed to do if we want to save our home, or else we will definitely burn down? Are we going to keep quiet or to put out the fire? Enough of lies. It's time to put out the fire. Of course, we'll go get the buckets and run to put out the fire while we can. Otherwise, tomorrow, all of the homes will burn down along with us. We must act because we are the ones who can put it out. There's no one but us. In this example, putting out the fire is all about informing humanity about the real climate situation on the planet. The media and those who own them are not going to do this because they have no solution to the situation. In order to maintain calmness and stability in the masses and prevent panic, they're forced to lie to us. In actual fact, there is a way out of the climate collapse. But in order to do so, everyone must wake up, learn about the ongoing and coming events, and start taking action. People need to know the truth. Further in the report, we will reveal step by step what will happen to the climate, when it will happen, what it will lead to, and most importantly, what the way out of this situation for the entire humanity is.
Let's go back to the processes inside the planet. What has been happening on the planet since 1995? This year, a series of unprecedented changes began to occur in the magnetic field of the planet. The magnetic North Pole begins to drift rapidly at a rate 4 times the normal. At the same time, the magnetic field weakens 10 times faster than before. Weakening of the magnetic field is already affecting even the upper layers of the atmosphere, thus reducing their density and cooling them down. But that's not all of it. In 1995, simultaneously with the shift of the magnetic pole, the rotation axis of the planet sharply changed direction and began to move 17 times faster than before. Rotation axis of the planet started to change its trajectory. Look at the graph to the right. The blue circle here represents rotation axis as it used to be before 1995. The orange circles indicate the new trajectory, which shows that the rotation axis of the Earth is shifting sideways.
В это же время, с 1995 года,
Meanwhile, since 1995, one of the stages of unprecedented acceleration of the planet's rotation has been observed. The acceleration occurs in leaps and bounds. The planet accelerates abruptly, then slows down a little. However, with each subsequent stage, it accelerates even more. Take a look at the yellow lines in the graph. These are the trend lines indicating the rate at which the length of the day is shortening. For example, the left line is flatter, whereas the right line, showing the acceleration starting from 2016, is almost vertical, which means that the length of the day is shortening many times faster. What does it mean? That our planet is spinning up drastically, like a spinning top, and it's getting faster every time. So what are the causes of the changes in the magnetic field, the trajectory of the planet's axis of rotation, and the speed of rotation that began in 1995? Few people know about the real nuclear threat. The real nuclear threat is the nucleus. That is the core of our planet. The core of our planet is the entire system that synchronizes and stabilizes all processes on Earth and plays a pivotal role in climate changes happening right now on our planet. Why? Because the rotation of the core forms the electromagnetic field and gravity, protects the atmosphere, and thus preserves the conditions for life on Earth. For a long time, the rotation of the core remained unchanged, but a few decades ago, the situation changed radically. All that you and I already know about the anomalies in the magnetic field and the Earth's rotation suggests that there has been a malfunction in the core itself, and this is a catastrophe. So what is happening to our planet's core? Let's watch a video.
Another important evidence confirming that abnormal processes are taking place in the core is the drastic acceleration of the North magnetic poles drift by 3.5 times over the past 20 years. Together with the extreme acceleration of the North Magnetic Pole movement, a mysterious anomaly weakens the planetary magnetic field, which protects us from dangerous galactic and solar radiation. Scientists have been able to calculate that the Earth's magnetic field has weakened by 9% over the past 200 years. As a result, an area of weak magnetic field known as the South Atlantic Anomaly has been formed between Africa and South America. Moreover, in the last 5 years, another such area has developed southwest of Africa, and it is actively growing. The electromagnetic field is generated by the dynamo mechanism in the Earth's core, and therefore it is evident that changes in the magnetic field indicate changes in the core. Another proof of the anomalous behavior of the Earth's core is the appearance of a powerful neutrino emission from the bowels of the Earth, which was also registered in the year 2015. An even more anomalous event occurred in the year 1998. Scientists detected a sharp bouncing displacement of the core by observing the Earth's center of mass using satellites. As a result of the bounce, the core shifted sharply northward toward the Tamir Peninsula. At this time, scientists at the Medicina station in Italy detected a gravity burst. The velocity of the planet also increased as well as the centrifugal force. Concurrently, there was a dramatic change in the shape of the Earth. As measured by a laser rangefinder system from the US satellites, the planet began to expand abnormally along the equator, whereas before that, the trend had been the opposite. Because of the increased centrifugal force, magma plumes began to rise closer to the surface, which increased the geothermal heat flow and the number of earthquakes. As a result, new faults and cracks began to form, through which water from the surface began to escape deep into the Earth. In the same year, there was a sharp increase in the speed of the North Magnetic Pole's drift. The bounce of the Earth's center of mass became the key factor of the system's imbalance. This event led to a dissonance among all the Earth's shelves, which caused a dramatic increase in many natural disasters: earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes, and so on. It is worth noting that during the same period, there was also synchronous bouncing changes in natural processes on the Sun, Moon, Mars, and other celestial bodies of the solar system. And this also occurred because of the displacement of their cores. This has led scientists to believe that such synchronous bounces may be caused by the influence of external factors on the solar system. But over the past 50 years, our planet has continued to accelerate. Since the year 2016, this trend has intensified even more. July 19, 2020, was recorded as the shortest day in the history of observations. Even seemingly insignificant acceleration of the huge mass of the Earth will cause catastrophic consequences in the near future.
Let's make brief conclusions from the video. As you understand, in 1995, irreversible destructive processes began to occur in the core of our planet. This can be seen from the change in the magnetic field. And as a consequence, in 1998, there was a leap, which exacerbated all the processes many times over. As a result of the core of the Earth shifted abruptly northward towards Siberia. We're now observing a complete destabilization of the core. And it is important to understand that the shift of the core affects the motion of magma in the interior of the planet. Look at the trajectory of the core shift in 1998. The bouncing of the core caused two ascending waves of magma from the Earth's interior in opposite directions. One flow of magma traveled toward West Antarctica and the other one traveled toward Siberia. What is happening in Siberia right now? Something that has never happened there before. It is in Siberia, at northern latitudes, a number of extremely anomalous phenomena have been registered over the past few decades. Melting permafrost from below, fires under the snow, and boiling water in wells. Moreover, for 20 years now, scientists have been observing that Siberia is heating up 3 to 4 times faster than the rest of the world. I emphasize 3-4 times faster than the rest of the world. Look at the map. The huge red stain shows how the average temperature in Siberia is changing faster than in the rest of the world in recent decades. As magma rises, it begins to hit the plate from below and boils the groundwater. But magma is rising not only in Siberia and West Antarctica. Where else is magma rising, and what does it lead to? Let's take a look at this video.
In recent decades, the Earth has been accelerating its rotation by leaps and bounds, which means the centrifugal force is increasing. As a result, at the equator, the planet is expanding and increasing in volume. This causes the Earth's crust to crack and geological faults to activate. At this time, processes similar to blood cavitation occur in the Earth's interior with magma. Blood cavitation during Chyson disease is a life-threatening phenomenon known to divers during rapid ascent to the surface. Due to the sudden drop of pressure, the dissolved gases in the blood are released instantly, causing the blood to boil. The resulting gas bubbles destroy the walls of the blood vessels. In the Earth's interior, sudden pressure drops are associated with an instantaneous increase in centrifugal forces during a sudden acceleration of the planet's rotation. This causes magma to rush abruptly towards the Earth's surface. Lithospheric plates are destroyed by cavitation, microbursts of active gas-saturated magma. Just as the walls of vessels are fused by the bubbled blood of a diver, this process accelerates itself, affecting deeper and deeper layers of the mantle. That is why we are seeing ever more powerful and deep earthquakes and seismic swarms. The proof that this process is increasing and accelerating can be seen in the massive double-deep earthquake in Peru. Meanwhile, the expansion and intensification of the pressure on the crust due to the cavitation of the magma serves to intensify the erosion process. What does that mean for us? Soon, we will see eruptions and earthquakes of a magnitude that our civilization has never experienced before. The countdown of the clockwork mechanism of the magma bomb inside our planet has already started. Under the onslaught of a massive attack from the Earth's interior, the thinner oceanic crust is already giving up its position. The ocean has so far restrained this power, but eruptions are moving into the terrestrial phase. Tonga is vivid proof of this. It has the highest number of deep focus earthquakes, and the eruption of the Hunga Tonga Hapai volcano on 15 January 2022 alone affected 80% of the population of the surrounding region. If one volcano can do that, what can we expect from a massive eruption of terrestrial volcanoes? After all, already now, we observe their synchronization. The thicker continental crust is holding the line for now, but it won't last long. This threatens to bring on a volcanic winter and a new ice age. The magma's violent power has already awakened volcanoes that have been dormant for hundreds and thousands of years. Our planet is looking more and more like a minefield, where shells are beginning to detonate like a chain reaction. But an even greater threat is fraught with those volcanoes that have not yet woken up. Giants, such as Yellowstone, Campi Flegrei, Elbrus, Flach, Kikai, are called doomsday volcanoes because the eruption of any of them could lead to the extinction of all life on Earth. They have held back the power of the Earth's interior for a millennia, but now they are showing signs of activation. When the magma beneath these volcanoes reaches a critical point, the scale of the catastrophe is hard to imagine. Our planet is splitting apart, yet we are busy with something else. Endless problems of the consumerist format cover our eyes, not allowing us to see the main thing. We are deceived by data manipulation. Earthquake statistics are manipulated in the same way that temperature data is. Those who do this keep quiet, some for the money, and some, perhaps, not to scare people and spread panic, so that people live out their last days in peace.
Because it was so suffocating inside. I couldn't breathe.
People die inside the dead body inside the house.
It's a nightmare. Well, I'm pretty well fucked. I fell through that hole.
So that we go straight to the precipice with our eyes closed while someone knows but deliberately hides or is afraid to voice the truth.
Теперь мы видим.
Now we can see that magma ascent is happening all over the world. Because the core is shifting, centrifugal forces are accelerating, and the bounces of the core start to push out magma abruptly. The faster the planet spins, the harder it pushes liquid magma away from the core towards the surface. This happens according to the principle of centrifuge. And this is not happening for millions of years. This is happening right now. Recall how quickly magma came toward the surface near Antarctica.
In a recent magma study of the Fagradalsfjall volcano in Iceland, which erupted in March 2021, showed that the new magma is coming from deep layers of a single mantle plume under both Iceland and Greenland. Because of this, Iceland is experiencing swarms of earthquakes, 1,000 events per day, and volcanoes that have not been active for thousands of years have begun to erupt. That is, the deeper layers of magma are rising as a result of mixing. It is as if someone's stirring the stew inside our planet with a huge teaspoon. As it rises, the pressure in the magma drops, causing it to boil like blood during cavitation. Because of this, magma expands in volume and begins to press, erode, and heat the Earth crust more. Remember, we have already talked about unprecedented increase in the number of earthquakes, depth of more than 700 kilometers. And here is the answer to what deep focus earthquake and liquid magma are. This is exactly boiling of magma and cavitation explosions. Think about it. Explosions equivalent to thousands of nuclear bombs in power have just started to occur interior of our planet. The increased pressure of magma melts and deforms the Earth crust. This causes new cracks to appear in the crust through which water escapes. And the magma is rising everywhere right now. Where the thrust is thin, it is being felt the most. As we know, both West Siberia and West Antarctica have very thin crust. But look at the map. Yellow and red colors show regions where the crusts are also thin. This includes Europe, west coast of the United States, Africa, Australia, China, and many other regions. The ascent of magma triggers volcanic eruptions. One of the most famous supervolcanoes, Yellowstone, is showing alarming signs of seismic activity. The number of earthquake swarms is increasing there. The map shows where the ground rises and sinks near the caldera. The magma there is critically close to the crust, and any slightest destabilization in the planet's interior will cause an eruption of Yellowstone. And this means a catastrophe not only for the USA, but for all humankind. Supervolcanoes will undoubtedly react when the magma gets closer. The motion of the planet's core increases the pressure in the magma. And when the pressure reaches a critical point, the magma will burst out in the form of exploding volcanoes.
Помните, мы говорили о